up. You know why? Because we get to see the best version of Damian Lillard. Also, I picked the Bucks to win this series in 6 without Giannis Antetokounmpo. We have to realize Damian Lillard, what he did when he was in Portland and against tough Western Conference teams, is nothing to what he got to do for us carrying this team to get past the Pacers. I'm going with Dame Dollar to be the best player in this series, and he started off by proving me right.
Okay, so Donovan Mitchell can lead the Cavs to the conference finals. Perk up or perk down?
Oh, I'm going to perk down on this one because, look, they're going to get past the Orlando Magic. Is Donovan Mitchell going to continue to play great? Absolutely. But do you know who he's going to have to face in the next round? The Boston Celtics. And I don't know if he's going to be able to perform like that against Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown. They're going to send them home.
The Lakers could still win this series with Denver if they lose tonight. Perk up or perk down?
I'm going to stay all the way down on this one because they have no answer for Jokic. He's been dominating them. When you talk about the best starting 5 in basketball, that is the Denver Nuggets. They still can't guard Jamal Murray. D'Angelo Russell is a no-show. The lights are too bright when they face the Denver Nuggets. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they played outstanding and still couldn't get the win.
Lakers haven't won a playoff series after going down 0-2 since 2004. Keep that in mind. Kendrick Perkins, always up in our book. Thank you, bro.
In the month of never win.
Indeed. All right, more on the Lakers. Coach Darvin Ham saying Sunday it's still unclear when Christian Wood, who's out with a knee, is going to be back, or Jared Vanderbilt, who was at shoot-around this morning. He's been out with a foot, whether he'll be available soon to bolster a bench that saw just one player, Taurean Prince, scoring that Game 1 loss to Denver. Hannah?
20 years ago today, Pat Tillman died at the age of 27 while fighting in Afghanistan. He had enlisted 2 years earlier in the aftermath of 9/11, giving up his pro football career and a 3-year, $3.6 million contract offer from the Arizona Cardinals in order to serve his country. Outside the Lines takes a look back at the long, painful quest for answers following his death, for his mother, and for his fellow soldiers. Here's Jeremy Schaap.
When Pat Tillman was killed in Afghanistan on April 22, 2004, the news stunned his fellow Americans. At the time, he was the most celebrated person in the U.S. military. All these years later, he remains a symbol of duty and sacrifice. But Tillman's death was initially misrepresented. The Army said he was killed by enemy fighters. In fact, he was killed by friendly fire. For the last 2 decades, Tillman's mother, Danny, has worked to uncover the actual circumstances of Pat's death. Now, finally, she says she thinks she knows what really happened and why the Army lied about it. We sat down with Danny Tillman in March. What do you think you'll be thinking on the 20th anniversary?
Probably just like every other anniversary. I mean, missing him. Missing life with him, with everyone. I mean, I think a proper healing could have taken place if they told us the truth right away. But the healing was jagged.
Danny Tillman was at home when she found out. It was her daughter-in-law, Pat's wife, Marie, who told her.
I called, she answered like she always does. You know, she had that little lilt in her voice. And then she didn't say anything. And then I said, Marie, what's wrong? And she just said, he's dead. And I said, who's dead? And she said, Pat's dead.
But when the Army announced how Pat Tillman had died, it offered up a false narrative, that he was killed by enemy fighters. In reality, he was killed by friendly fire, by his platoon mates, in a tragic accident.
The coroner would not sign the autopsy because they didn't believe he was killed by the enemy based on his wounds. So they were forced to tell us. And I found out because I got a phone call from the Arizona Republic just before Memorial Day. And they said, well, what do you think about Pat being killed by friendly fire? I think I just said I have nothing to say, and I hung up the phone, and I was just beside myself.
Danny Tillman would dedicate herself to finding out what the military was keeping from the family and the world at large.
It's shameless. And of course, we're not the only family that they lie to. But it just speaks to the fact, if someone this high profile can be treated that way, then what are they doing with other families that don't have the voice?
In 2017, Danny Tillman, still in search of answers, asked Pete Blaber, a retired Special Forces colonel, to investigate Pat's death and the aftermath. He conducted more than 100 interviews, and it was his assessment that leadership at the battalion level and above had failed Tillman and his platoon mates.
The lack of accountability, especially when you compare it to the devastation that it wreaked on the entire platoon, was probably the most eye-opening experience of this whole thing. He was killed in one of the most intense, chaotic firefights, and unfortunately, in the end, he was hit by friendly fire. What he did, everyone should know about, and everyone should talk about and appreciate for many years to come in the future.
What does closure mean for you?
Doing as much as I can, thinking I've done as much as I can to get to the truth. And that's closure.
Are you there?
Getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm there.
Danny Tillman says her message to her son's platoon mates is that Pat would be very forgiving. He would want them to live their lives fully. For more on the death of Pat Tillman, you can find my story, co-written with William Weinbaum, online at ESPN.com.